Okay, now call the Concord Township Board of Trustees, June 7, 2017 meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Malcheski?
Present.
Mrs. Luda?
Here.
Mr. Galloway?
Here. All right, approval of minutes. 19, anybody have a problem with April 19?
No.
Those were good.
Third?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I had was under department reports, section C, service department, first line, road repairs was capitalized, not sure why.
Okay. Connie, anything on
Not on the third.
how about the 17th?
Yes. On the first line, it should be May 17th instead of May 3rd on the first line.
Okay.
Yeah, that's important.
That is important.
And there was one other thing I thought. Where is it?
2 corrections.
Yeah. Oh, in the proposed tax levy renewal, third line, it says maintenance or lines. It should be maintenance of lines.
Okay. April 19th, May 3rd, and May 17th with those corrections will be approved. Elected officials, fiscal officer.
Okay, my treasurer's report. As of May 31st, we are 41% of the way through the calendar year. Treasury balance for the 20 funds within the township treasury was $6.4 million. The balance includes $1.3 million in funds set aside for specific projects. Year-to-date expenditures were 30% of the amount appropriated, and revenue was at 54% received for 2017. So we are well within budget. My cemetery sexton's report. I did want to say a special thanks to everyone who helped us out in making our Memorial Day ceremony special. Appreciate everybody's assistance. It was a lovely day. For those of you who are not aware, Linda Therian has retired after 25 years. We'd like to thank her for all of her service, particularly in the cemetery. And we'd like to welcome Karen Warner, who will be assisting residents with their cemetery needs, along with assisting administration. Also, please remember that artificial floral decorations are not permitted in the cemetery after April 1st. If you've placed any for the holiday, they will be removed in June. If you have any questions, you can reach me at 354-7516. Thank you.
Okay. Trustees, Chris, anything?
I don't have anything, no.
Connie?
I went to Theodore Grove Hack's Eagle
Yes.
Scout ceremony
Yeah.
on Saturday. That's all.
Good, great. All right, I think that we resolved all our stormwater issue on 608, Kathy, and dropping off those papers to Neil Conway. My understanding is at the time, the county did everything that they were supposed to do, commissioners and Aaron Newman from the realty agent, I think, emailed some stuff in. So hopefully that will end that stormwater project and we will move on to our next stormwater project. Besides that, nothing else to report. Kathy, administration?
I just want to give an update with regard to the road project and the finalization on the part of the contractor, just some unfinished business. They're doing some final repaving of asphalt, putting on the final layer of pavement, and they're going to be doing some pavement markings, some additional arrows. We are still tweaking the signalization at Auburn and 44, and we ask again for your patience. I have been in regular contact now with the Ohio Department of Transportation, because as the contractor's role in the project comes to a close, obviously the maintenance of those signals are going to be taken back over by ODOT. So I've asked them to take a closer look at the signalization issues that we're having during peak hours of the day. And they've already been out there and made some adjustments, so I have seen some improvements but they've asked us for patience as it's a work in progress. And they're also going to be doing a further analysis on their dime over the summer to make sure that the signals, the existing signals at 90 and 44 are in sync with those at the new intersection at Auburn and 44. So,
Just to add that, Kathy, ODOT, we condemn them sometimes, but they've been very responsive on the signal issue. And it appears that they're going to take on an additional study to fix those signals. That's probably about $30,000 to $35,000 on their dime, and so I'm hoping that that gets done sooner than later. But I was very excited about their concern, so that's great. Anything else, Kathy?
that's all I have.
All right. Deputy Chief Ron Terriaco, what do you got for the fire department?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Total runs for the month of May, 202. Total runs year to date is 1,030. We're about 200 runs up from last year at this time, so we're very busy. The runs activity for May, MVAs were 11, 16 agency assist, 7 fire alarms, 2 wires down, 30 basic rescues, 80 advanced and paramedic runs, 24 public assist, and 1 house fire, 1 structure fire. Fire prevention and public education have been pretty busy with plan reviews, general inspections, follow-ups along those lines. A couple items for the safety tip tonight. One is a reminder that this Sunday, June 11th, is our fire department annual safety day. That is 12 to 3, and that's at Auburn Career Center. So the fire department will be there, the county sheriff's department will be there, the Mentor Fire Department water safety trailer. There'll be a variety of things there for all the families to enjoy. 2 items I want to talk about: smoke detectors and get out, stay out, reflect the structure fire that we have. It's so important that fire smoke alarms are in our houses, 1 on each living floor, each space, and 1 in front of each bedroom. And the other item is, it's very important, when you exit your house, if your house is on fire, you need to make sure that you stay out. Life safety is so important. Life safety of the residents, life safety of our firefighters is very paramount. So we want to make sure you stay out and you don't go back into your home, no matter what. And our final safety tip, as we're finally getting into the 2017 summer season, I think it's going to be warm this weekend, so we're finally there. Many of us are out riding our bikes and doing our walking. Concord Fire Department would like to remind everyone a few tips. Walkers are to face the traffic. Bike riders are to ride with the traffic flow and ride in a single file. Please wear bright colored clothing and helmets so you stand out. Drivers need to stay alert to all traffic, whether it's a walker, a biker, or even other cars. Everyone needs to share the road. And please remember that a stone or other debris on the walkway while you're riding your bike could cause you or as a walker to trip and step out into traffic. So, have a safe summer and enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Service Department, Frank.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Township crews were active in May, completing a wide variety of drainage, park and public land, and cemetery maintenance throughout the month. We installed a new entrance gate and driveway access into Barchester Park, completed baseball field improvements, both drainage and infield conditioning, installed new goals at our soccer field, and put in quite a few hours at the cemetery building footers for gravestones and completing follow-up restoration to grave sites. We regraded roadside ditches on Coal Ridge, Highland View, Fay Road, Pine Hill, Page Drive, Exmoor Drive, Mount Royal Drive, Buckingham Place, Briarwick Woods Avenue, and Old Stone Court. We repaired a storm sewer failure under the road on Malachite and installed driveway culverts on Huntoon Road and Danvers Drive. Installation of 4 bioretention cell islands, 60-foot in diameter, were also completed within the Little Mountain subdivision. This project eliminated over 8,000 square feet of impervious asphalt surface and will help collect rainwater, temporarily store, and improve the quality of water through a filtering process prior to being released into the local tributaries. Similar improvements are currently being planned for Lambton Court and Hobby Horse Lane. To get additional details and information regarding the service department activities, please contact us at 350-3225 or visit our webpage at www.concordtwp.com.
Hey Frank, they keeping in touch with you on the 608 bridge project?
I go over and check it periodically. It looks like it's moving along pretty good. They've had really optimum weather conditions to work in, so.
Are they done moving the utilities yet, or where are they
Their
at?
biggest holdup seemed to be when they were installing the force main gas lines and that they ran into a few issues, so that took a lot longer, I think, than it was expected.
Okay,
Although they're pouring footers and stuff over there now. They're working on the physical structure of what's gonna go underneath,
good,
for the future, so.
good. I'm glad they can do that
We'll keep you
first.
posted on those dates. So far,
right.
as it looks like they're still on schedule.
Appreciate it, thank you. Kathy, zoning department.
During the month of May, the zoning department issued a total of 49 zoning permits and collected just over $6,000 in fees. Of those 49 zoning permits, 10 were for single-family dwellings. When you compare that to last year's numbers, total permits issued to date, we are pretty much right in sync with where we were last year. We were at 164 permits through the month of May in 2016 versus 166 to date through May. And versus the number of dwelling permits is actually down this year. At this time last year, we were at 47 permits issued for dwelling units, and this year through May we are at 39. And also during the month of May, there was a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. 2 variances were considered, one which was approved and a second one was denied, both of which were for residential
Dwellings?
permits. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Rec department, Deborah.
Good evening, everybody.
It's crunch time for you.
Yes, it is, and it's an awesome crunch time. As we officially welcome summer, the Concord Township Recreation Department invites you to enjoy a variety of entertaining programs planned especially for our residents. This afternoon, our 55-plus group gathering, we welcomed Pete Booth, who's a local reenactor who performed an historically accurate portrayal of an American soldier during the Normandy invasion. Pete displayed actual relics and artifacts from World War II, and his performance was deeply moving and a gentle reminder of the devastation of war. At our next 55 group gathering, it's a little lighter. It'll be next Wednesday, June 14th, when we take a field trip, literally, to a ball field and thoroughly enjoy watching the Lake County Captains trounce the Fort Wayne Tin Caps while feasting on a Cedar Day picnic and barbecue. And then, on Wednesday, June 21st, the Western Reserve Historical Society will present Fab 50s Cleveland Style, a fascinating account of the decade where the Indians, Browns, and Barons were all in championship games, Marilyn Shepard was murdered, and Marilyn Monroe was married twice. Are your kids bored with summer? Spice it up this year with kids camps through your recreation department. If your child is creative, sign them up for art camp, where kids are introduced to the work of well-known artists. They create a project a day inspired by the work of the artist under study. If your child loves to build things, sign them up for our STEM, or Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math camp, where they use the 3D printers at Auburn Career Center to build and eventually race derby cars using electric motors, gears, and the basic principles of physics. If your child loves the outdoors, sign them up for tennis camp. They'll learn the basic grips, volley, net play, and scoring. And if your child just loves to play, sign them up for our summer camp at the Recreation Department through the Concord Community Center, where kids do a variety of different activities every day. Another enjoyable event geared for kids happens this Saturday when we host our first Schoolhouse Truck Day from 10 a.m. to noon at the Old Stone School. Kids will enjoy a tour of the Old Stone School and its newly updated displays, and explore various Concord Township trucks, including plows, fire trucks, and much more. And I am thrilled to announce our summer concert series begins this month. We have a marvelous lineup of bands for our residents to enjoy. Here we go. On June 22nd, Bluestone Union rocks the gazebo. On June 29th, the Pop-Tarts perform music from girl groups of the 60s. Yeah. On July 6th, In Cahoots covers your favorite top 10 songs through the years. On July 13th, Primetime Big Band swings its 18-piece band. On July 20th, the Big Five show classically rocks the gazebo with music of the 60s and 70s. On July 27th, we've got the Underworld Blues Band, shows you how they rock and soul. And then on August 3rd, the 7:30 Club Band pays tribute to today's top hits. It's a marvelous lineup, and they're all on Thursday evenings. They all begin at 7 p.m. at the gazebo at Town Hall. This year, we're bringing back the East Coast Custard Truck and the Kettle Corn Stand, and new this year, we welcome Virgil's Doghouse to our vendor lineup. As always, if a concert is canceled due to inclement weather, we post it on the township's Facebook page by 6 p.m. that day. We also post signs at the gazebo. So be sure to like us on Facebook at Concord Township, Lake County, Ohio. Summer's also a great time to take new class. We've got, this month, our department offers Nature's Way Journaling, Skillet Dinners, cooking class for adults, an ice cream cooking class for kids, where I hear they make ice cream nachos. I'm going to be sure to be there that day. A camping treats cooking class for kids, and getting started with Medicare. Seats are available in all the classes, so sign up soon. You can go to concordtownship.com and click on the recreation link, and then click on programs to view a listing of all of our current classes. And looking a little bit ahead to July, we've invited our friends from Painesville to join the 55-plus group summer picnic on July 5th. They'll enjoy a great buffet and music from Flashbacks, which is one of our favorite duets. Reservations are required, so please call the Recreation Department to sign up. And lastly, the start of summer means getting excited about Concord Community Day. Check out our sensational schedule of events on the front page of the Summer Grapevine and on our website. And this year it all happens on Saturday, August 12th. Our community-wide celebration includes the traditional 5K run, the fire department's pancake breakfast, Kids World with giant inflatables, lots of games and carnival games, our beloved frog jump, a wiffle ball derby, our community parade, food trucks, live music throughout the day, and Uncorked is back with beer, wine, and our legendary Chinese raffle. And this year, Uncorked features the wildly popular band Sumarada, and people can enjoy tethered hot air balloon rides throughout the evening. So be a part of Concord Community Days. Be in the parade. Take your best shot at the wiffle ball derby, nominate someone for Citizen of the Year, apply for a Community Day scholarship. All of these forms are available on our website. So for more information about any event or class, please visit concordtwp.com or call the Recreation Department directly at 440-639-4650. Thank you.
Deborah, your enthusiasm is contagious.
Lots to be excited about.
Right.
Concord Law Enforcement report.
Okay, everybody, no ice cream nachos here. You really have to change this lineup. She needs to start batting cleanup, not the sheriff's office here. All right, calls for service in May, we had 1,606 of them. Injury accident-wise, we had 2. Property damage accidents, 30. Arrest-wise, we had an adult male arrest for domestic violence, an adult male arrest for OVI, an adult female arrest for disorderly conduct, a juvenile male arrest for domestic violence, an adult female arrest for OVI, and another adult male arrested for OVI. 63 alarm drops were handled, business checks, 226 of them, crime prevention cards, 238, citations issued would be 88, 205 warnings, driving warnings issued. Driving under suspension, we had 5 of those total. Operating a vehicle while intoxicated, 3 total. Under new investigations, we had an assault on Teal Cove, a burglary on Johnny Cake Ridge, a drugs case on Auburn Road, another drugs case on Auburn Road, and another drugs case on Auburn Road, and I think those might have all been at Auburn Career Center. Sex offense, we had one of those on Concord Hamden Road, and we also had one on Auburn Road. Theft-wise, there was a theft on Cole Ridge, theft on Marlow Drive, theft on Rolling Acres, a theft on Augusta Lane, one on Hoos Road, a theft on Sittingbourne Drive, a theft on Danvers Drive, a theft on Concord Hamden Road, a theft on Johnny Cake Ridge, a theft on Auburn Road, and a theft on Johnny Cake Ridge again, another one. Threats, complaints, we had one on Auburn Road and one on Jennifer Court. We had a vandalism on Auburn Road and a stolen vehicle that we handled on Hoos Road.
couple things to pass on. It's getting real nice out. People are leaving their garage doors open and unlocked and cars unlocked. Take a few minutes to lock up your garages, lock up your cars, and keep your significant valuables out of your cars, and be less chance of getting up in the morning and then finding them gone. Other thing that I have to pass on, everybody is aware that we've had 4 young deaths in Geauga County here next door, and probably mostly in part to distracted driving, I'm guessing. Take a minute, put your seat belts on, and also pay attention to your surroundings, and put the phone down and get to where you need to go safely. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Some audience portion.
Good evening, everyone. Before I start, I wanted to come here.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bob Patterson, 10940 Girdle Road, Concord Township. Before I start, I wanted to come here and publicly apologize to the trustees for an email I sent out yesterday after the zoning meeting. There was no excuse for that unprofessional behavior, and by coming here tonight, publicly saying it on TV, I hope the message gets to anyone that got a copy of it. I felt somewhat betrayed because over the last 8 years, not one of you mentioned high-density housing to me, so I just got a little bit upset. The reason, and I hope you accept my apology.
We do.
Thank you. I come here tonight because being a former trustee, a lot of people are talking to me about this zoning, okay? And I'm not here to try and pick it apart or criticize it or anything like that. I'm here to ask you respectfully to withdraw the zoning until you can have a conversation with the township. I know you've had public hearings, and I know the zoning obviously is a public hearing. I know this will be a public hearing, but it's going, in all due respect, it's going too fast for a lot of people who didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. I saw the things in the, in the brochures, but I didn't have the details that Heather had last night for the zoning commission. Like the water park and the moving of the civic center, city community center. So, with that kind of shock to most of the people in the community, because the people I talked to, they didn't know about it either. We had word of mouth spread and just got like 20 or 30 people here at the last minute, but there are a lot more people interested in discussing this. And here's the crux of the matter. The high density zoning it's always been a nemesis for Concord. I mean, when I was trustee, we had arguments and fights every month, every week almost. Connie knows that. She sat next to me. So somehow or another, what I request is that with a conversation with the public, just have a regular conversation about what it is and why you're doing it, maybe people would accept it easier. On another subject, just looking at the high-density housing, the first thing that came to my mind was the financial impact. When I was trustee, we had a 2001 study done in, I think it was Madison, where it showed for every dollar of revenue, there was $2.25 of every dollar of individual property owner revenue. You needed another $2.25 from business, from restaurants, hotels, to offset the costs that density brought. Some of the old parts of Concord are fairly dense. Some of the semi-rural areas, like where I live, aren't dense at all. You drive by and you don't have any extra plowing or anything else. So the thing that some people were talking to me about is maybe this is going to require us to have another fire station. What's that going to do to the budget? So it all gets back to the money. My personal feeling is, I read the comprehensive plan. My personal feeling is, you had a picture of Hudson in there and everything and how it compared to Hudson. I knew where Hudson was when I came here. I didn't want to go and live in Hudson. I wanted to live in Concord because it was semi-rural. And your plan changes that drastically for all of us. I've been here 36 years. it changes Concord drastically, and it pushes us down the road to possibly having to be incorporated so we can levy an income tax on people to, pay for the overhead and costs. So I just basically respectfully ask that you just slow things down a little bit. I mean, people are reasonable. If you got a reasonable argument, let them hear your other side, because in the zoning meeting last night, it was tabled. We didn't discuss anything, which is fine. Some property owners didn't want it to go forward. I put together a little, Dan Troy made a comment in the paper about a month ago when the department that does all the investigation for crime, what the heck's that called? They want a tax increase.
Crime Lab?
Crime Lab, yeah. Colson was asking for a tax increase. And Dan had an interesting observation. I think it was only like a small 0.3% or something, I'm not sure. He said something that really caught my eye. He said, I can't foresee the future where we keep raising taxes all the time. He says, at some point, we're going to reach a level of equilibrium or a level of resistance where people aren't. Some of you might remember when we had the recessions and we didn't have any revenue coming in, we had to cut back or we had to freeze programs. So those days are gone. I hope we'll never see them again. But I put together a little thing here that you might be interested in. It shows the effects of a Concord Township tax relief fund. And let me just give you the computations. This is just a theoretical discussion of what could happen. Okay, stick together.
Thanks.
I think I only need 3.
I'll share.
This one.
That's okay, we'll share.
This is really based on Troy, and let's back up a minute. Let's say you guys agree with what I'm saying and you don't go ahead with the development at Capitol Road. You don't do anything there. You take the money coming in from the JED and you put it into a special fund. That fund, if you put $2 million a year in, within 10 years you'll have $22,900,000 based on a minor 3% return. The 30-year bond is actually a little bit higher than 3%. But at the end of 40 years, you'd have $150 million, enough to generate enough money for the township to work without going to the people for taxes. Now, another town right near us, Kirtland Hills, does this. They have a huge fund that pays their operating expenses. I asked some of the people there how they got it. Well, they got it from retirees, and they got it from the wealth that was created.
It was a state tax. It was largely driven by a
state tax,
which is now gone.
Yeah, but the fund now is still producing, and they invested and everything. Personally, my wife and I were talking. We have a trust we're creating, and we were planning on leaving a large portion of our estate to Concord because we don't have any children. This fund could be set up to collect estate proceeds from families that want to donate. So what you see here might be small. I remember when I was trustee, we had $400,000 come in one year, $800,000 another year. If you stick it in this fund, you can do no wrong. You can just make money, mint money. And at the same time, if you leave the zoning the way it is right now, let commercial and let industrial move in there. Don't worry about the housing. Why alienate half of Concord for a housing program? Let it go. Look at the money you can make just by putting this in the fund. So that's my recommendation. And I know it's wild. I know when I was trustee, we had about $2 million we put into what we call at county a emergency fund. We put 0.5% into emergency fund, and obviously there were a lot of emergencies with 2008 after I left. So think about it. You can do no wrong saving money, even if you can't reach the $150 million level in 40 years. You're still going to have an awful lot of money there, and if you have a real problem, you can fall back on it. In the meantime, that area over on Capitol Parkway, that can grow, but let it grow itself. Let the businesses come in there, let them do their thing. Why bring a lot of people in there? It's really, from my humble point of view, it's not necessary. And that's all I just wanted to throw out to you. I appreciate it. Thank you for accepting my apology. I will not do that again. Have any questions or anything?
No, several things. One, thank you for coming here and the apology. That means a lot to me. I guess my comment is, I like this. You're coming to us and saying, I have some thoughts and ideas. We like that. We like this dialogue. That is always far more productive. And we're always happy to have discussions about, because these are discussions that we constantly have. We have twice a year in our strategic planning meetings. We have, on an ongoing basis as a board. We have, and things that we've been working on now in our 12th year is on a lot of these things that and some of the things you point out that you brought up tonight, I agree with. The Madison study, for example, that's a great example. I'm always talking about that with Paul about roads are a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme.
You build more roads in a township with new development, and you're using the new taxes from the new development to fix the roads in the old development. And what happens when you no longer have new places to put new development?
Right.
You end up as Wicklet or a Willowick. Okay, no commercial development, tons of infrastructure, and no ability to have a balance in terms of your revenue sources. And so that's the reason why Willowick has the highest property taxes in the county.
To add into that, you've got, right now, I'm guessing about 60% on the fixed income in Concord Township, and our taxes are going, 4.9 mil levy for Riverside's gonna add almost 2,000 to my tax bill.
Well, yeah, a lot. And had a bond issue the fall before, and Lakeland had a massive
What I worry
issue.
about is what happened to Shaker Heights might happen here, where you have beautiful homes that just are now run down. People can't afford the taxes, and their school system might have been good at one time, but now.
Let me add it, and again, thank you for your apology, but the concern I have, and you hit the mark on the head with regards to Lake County. Lake County has been this stable bubble my entire life, that it doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. It's a stable, secure thing, which is good. But on the other hand, it is getting older. Just as much as Concord Township is aging, the rest of Lake County is aging. And it's ripe to put a pedal on, your foot on the pedal and move this county and the township forward. Now, I don't think of what was proposed or the zoning issues that are coming up, to me, are not housing, but they're a mixed-use development. It is an economic engine that we are trying to promote. It's something that I've talked about it, we've done studies on it, 6, 7, countywide 7. Those discussions are appropriate to have. We have been having them. I will continue to have them. But it is what I think is necessary. A mixed-use development, I think, is what is necessary to start moving the county as well as the township into this a younger township. I think it's necessary for that growth. I think it's not necessary for sustainability. I think it's necessary to maintain your level of services without increasing your taxes, or better yet, to grow in services that does not require additional taxes. And I say in growing services, continue to make better roads, continue to have superior fire services, continue to have stable sheriff's protection. So the same goal is in mind, I think, with everybody. And I always talk about the debates that don't happen in Congress, where everybody's kind of talking around each other, but nobody really agrees to what are the same facts and what are the same problems and what are the you know, the possible solutions to get you there. It's been something that we've worked on for 12 years. All I could say is that when we did this road project, and all this is in conjunction with our road project on 44 in Crowell and Auburn, the road project was approved for safety reasons by the Strickland administration and ODOT, and it was funded by the Kasich administration for economic development in that area. And so the purpose of what our desire is to address that corridor over there that was supposed to be talked about last night was for economic development, for sustainability, for all those things that are mentioned inside that plan. And you know, the debate that will happen at the zoning department or the zoning commission, the debate that will happen with the trustees, and the debate that will happen, you know, among residents is you know, whether or not it promotes it. The thought of having an overlay district, I think, is because a township is a township and it lacks certain controls as municipalities do, and there's no desire for this township ever to, you know, cease being a township. The overlay district purpose was so that you have more control over an area that you generally lack control over. And the controls are aesthetic and traffic control, and I say aesthetic in the type of material they're using and what it looks like and what those things are. And I think that the Hudson First and Main would add a special feature to Concord Township, just like, you know, a little bit of a Chagrin Falls would have a special feature to Concord Township. There's still a question whether or not a developer would ever do that. But we you know, in a township having very little tools in promoting sustainable development, would always like to add it to it. So that's, you know, my initial thoughts on those things. And I don't want to say initial thoughts; those are the thoughts that I've kind of been developing over the last, you know, 12 years of those things. I thought that the comprehensive plan of 2015, I think, illustrates, and you got to start on page 19 and go for the next 10 or so pages that kind of talk about not only the concerns that you raised, Bob, but the remedies that are available to us in trying to address those issues.
But the problem I see is that you got one group over here that are too concerned about what you just articulated.
Sure.
And it's like a shock to their system. I mean, these people were living. It got me going too when I got home. But I understand where you're coming from. I understand what you're trying to do. It's just tough to swallow. I've been here 31 years. Pen's been here a heck of a lot longer. And boy, was that a change. When I saw that, I thought, oh my God.
All right, so real quick, I would say that hearing what you're talking about and what you showed us, I think that what you're looking for Concord in terms of long-term sustainability and the health of this community and keeping our tax burden lower and making sure our services are effective, you know, and cost effective is the exact same finality that we're interested in. Now, I think we're looking at it from a different angle, but I think our outcome that we're both looking for is the same final outcome, which is a Concord that is prosperous, has a quality, you know, fabric, be it semi-rural or quality of life. People, you know, we want to make sure that Concord is a successful, sustainable community long-term, long after, you know, we're all long gone and somebody else is sitting in these seats. And I think that's the commonality that between your perspective and our perspective. The tax relief fund it's an interesting idea. I'll tell you, we don't get $2 million. We get $600,000 and change to the township. So we got a little ways to go there. But I get your concept is
Give you an incentive.
no, right. Well, but here's the thing. Now you just talked about incentive, and that's a lot of what we're focused on, which is, you remember when the hospital came in. You were a trustee when they announced they were going to do that. And then they built the hospital. What was the thing that a lot of people assumed would happen? But I mean, beyond traffic, there was a lot of talk about we're going to get all these office buildings, and there's going to be all this development and all this new stuff going on. And what didn't happen? None of it.
Well, you got some that assisted living popping here.
Well, and that took a long time. And I will tell you, and back to your point about how we manage the growth, is that we've had a lot of projects brought to us through the years, and especially even during the economic downturn in 07, 08, 09, 10. I mean, you had a lot of communities that would grab any project and say yes to anything because they were desperate to, but because of good financial planning and conservative budgeting from previous boards and continued by this board, we weren't in a position where we had to do those, say yes to crazy projects, and we rejected a lot of them.
Yes, you did.
And and part of that was saying to ourselves, back to how do we create that revenue stream? How do we create that, taking that corridor that's our only commercial corridor? It's been zoned and planned for as such since 1968. You go back to the original comprehensive plans in 1968. The trustees then wanted to build a Ford plant there. That was their vision.
Sure.
Okay, so it's been our commercial corridor forever as a community. And so what we've done is said, okay, how can we make sure that as a commercial corridor, it does several things. One, it provides services that our residents are looking for. And we get calls and people, they'll talk to you at barbecues and, why can't we get this? Or why don't we have that? Why do I got to go to Chardon to get this? We get it all the time. You remember, you got it all the time.
Taylor, services like that.
The irony, this is the top two things in my 12 years I've been asked for, is for the top two things people ask for is a Starbucks and a drugstore. Well, we got to Starbucks. Took us 6 years to get that done, but we did it.
Isn't that already going
And
in?
then we have Drug Mart. That project is started, and we spent about 6 years talking to them about bringing them in.
And we preserve them to be on Cryle Road so that Cryle Road will naturally fill in and we can concentrate on this corridor that we're talking about, which is...
So that's some of the services type of stuff that residents are always asking for, because people will say, I love Concord, I love this community, and why can't I have just certain things? They go, hey, listen, they go, when I want to go to Home Depot, fine, I'll go to Menor. We don't want that in Concord, and this board doesn't want that stuff. But people will say, well, why can't we get a drugstore? Why can't we get this service? Or some small conveniences that we need to service the community. And that's been one of our focuses. And I'll tell you, it's been a long, tiresome process in churning that and getting some of these things moving. And a lot of groundwork and a lot of legwork and a lot of meetings with a lot of people to try to move that ball. Part of that, though, is then beyond those services is, okay, how do we make the corridor, how do we maximize that? And we put together the JED for several reasons. One, the JED was created for building the road because we knew that we needed a revenue stream in order to develop the road and put that interchange in. And that was a fight with ODOT initially, but we put the JED together and we created a revenue stream so that we could pay for that road without having to go back to our property owners and say, we need to raise your taxes to pay for X or Y. We weren't going to do that. So we put that in place for that purpose, but we also put that JED in place so that knowing in our minds, costs never go down, whether it's for fire services, asphalt, diesel in the trucks, plowing. I mean, they never go down in terms of no matter what you're doing. The costs are constantly going up. And back to that comment about Willowick. Our thought process was, well, how do we make sure that Concord has that balance in revenue and has that ability to thrive and prosper with other revenue streams so the JED can provide some relief there long term. But what we have to do is we have to do some smart planning, some smart economic development activity in that corridor to make sure that it's vibrant and sustainable. So there's a lot of these moving parts to all of this. We developed 10 years ago the idea of this town center mixed-use concept. And it does several things. Yes, there's services for residents. There's an opportunity for business development, bringing in businesses as part of that. There is some retail component to that. There is some, whether you want to call it shopping, entertainment, whatever, but on a smaller scale. I mean, we're not talking crazy stuff like Crocker Park or anything like that. The great example we've always used is the First and Main project in Hudson. And so over time, we've been developing that vision and with our planning department, with the county, with, at times consultants, experts, and developing a plan of, okay, if we wanted to create a place, a sense of place, and we wanted to create a focal point in the corridor that can help be that driver for this economic development, how do we go about doing that? And part of that too is when you go and you sit down with companies, as I have, and you talk to them about, what are the things you're looking for when you relocate? The old days of companies going, we just, they're happy to, give us no property taxes and put us in the middle of a cornfield. I mean, those are long gone. The best example I can give is, the process like what American Ingredients went through when they left Brooklyn. Companies now are looking for, they want to be in a place where, yes, there's accessibility on the interstates, but they also want to be where there's services, and there's a community around for their employees to use, and for their, when they bring in clients and things of that nature. There's a real drive that companies want to be in these types of environments. We also know that millennials, the future, the largest generation now in our population, they want to live in those types of environments, more urban type environments where there's more focus on experience and place. And so we put that together and we say, how is Concord going to be, how can we service our current residents? How can we focus on this business development? And what are the things that we can do to move that along? And so what you see is we've developed this town center concept, and one tiny little piece of that that went through, and everyone's going to get to talk about it and have input, was as part of a mixed-use development, there is a component that is livability and housing. The part that, and what I would stress on that is that there's nothing concrete. We aren't shoveling anything, any dirt. We're not building anything. We are setting a table and saying we're putting this tool in our zoning toolbox, so that and the idea of an overlay district, I always want to call it layover.
I know.
An overlay district is that we can sit down with developers and we can sit down with these business interests and say, if you want to do something of this nature, we have set up parameters that we're willing to listen. But at the end of the day, the township will be the ones that will get to review what you're presenting to us, and we will be the deciders of whether it's viable or not. And so it allows us to be able to say to someone that might want to do something like a First and Main in Hudson, which included a small amount of housing component.
There's like 16 units there.
And they're going to do more from what I understand. But
and those are all...
That's not our main focus. Our main focus is the commercial that revolves around that. And sometimes in this process is that there is an opportunity to, as you build, think of your downtown. You have stores and retail and offices, and then on the second floor you can have condos and office or livability. And we're not talking cheap stuff. We're talking expensive, high-end stuff. And I don't know that will or will not happen. But what I'm saying is as a, to the business community is, listen, we're willing, as Concord is, to figure out a way to structure something that if there's a project that works and makes sense for this community, we're set up to be able to work that out with you.
Did you contact Legacy Village to find out if they could have another Legacy Village over here? That's all stores and restaurants, exactly what you want. High density housing.
We've actually met with First Interstate. Now the difference that
I think Legacy's adding actually residential to it now, and I
they are, yeah.
Yeah, I was. That's
And
not what they're.
obviously they just built the hotel, but
Yeah.
it's a complex formula, And I would tell you over the last, for 10 years, as we've slowly been working away at this diligently, looking at zoning, looking at economic development, meeting with folks. It's been an education process, and I know you talk about this all just came on so fast, and I understand some of that's perception, right? And I understand that. I mean, not everybody goes to every meeting, and everybody. I will tell you that I've presented the town center plan to Quail Hollow Homeowners Association. I've talked about it. I've met in front of the Mentor Chamber of Commerce in front of 300 people, including Mentor residents, talked about this project. I've talked about it in front of the Painesville Chamber of Commerce. A month and a half ago, I met and gave it at a luncheon in front of the Lake County Development Council. And just last night, while this zoning commission meeting was going on, I was at an event with Commissioner Jerry Serino, who was standing in front of a packed room at La Malfa, telling the room all these great things that Concord Township is doing for economic development in Lake County and making sure that we keep millennials and keep our people here. That's neither here nor there. So I guess just so you understand, from my perspective, when someone says to me, which kind of happened on those emails, like, we can't, where'd this come from? And it's like, from our perspective, like, we've been working on this for 10 years. We've been talking about this for 10 years. We did zoning, we were talking about it. We did planning, we've been talking about it. We've done, strategic planning meetings we've been talking about. We've been talking about it in public meetings. And yes, and what's happening is we're now getting from the ether to now we're actually getting into hard conceptual design standards. And I think what triggered all this, from the Planning Commission meeting, is my guess when they reviewed this, is that the one component of the overlay district that revolved around the idea of housing. And I think some people took that and said, oh my God, they're going to build all these apartments all over the place. Nobody's changed. We're not actually changing the underlying zoning. Nobody's looking to build apartments. The Board of Trustees have not come in and said, oh my God, what a great idea. Let's just build tons of apartments. Let me look at the camera. No, we're not. That's not what no one's looking to do that. And I would be the first to tell you, absolutely not over my dead body. For us, it's about that sustainability. We have a lot of conversations in this community. One of the conversations I'll tell you I have all the time is with folks who are in their late 50s. The average age of a Concord resident is 54. We're getting old. We're getting old fast in this township, really fast. And honestly, it's and I will tell you. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, this is the big picture stuff. That's a problem. I mean, it's a problem for us on two fronts. One, we have a lot of big houses that people want to leave in this township. We've got a lot of people on 1 acre or even half acre. They've got 4,000 up square foot houses, and they say to me, I want to sell my house in the next few years. I want to stay in Concord, but I have nowhere to go. These are boomers. I have to leave Concord because what I want, it doesn't exist in this township. So we brought a consultant in and have them analyze this, and they said, yeah, in fact, there's not that housing stock in Concord, and there's almost none of it in Lake County, which is why Lake County's population as a whole is starting to shrink. It's why Mentor started to lose population. Concord, if we weren't building 95 new houses a year in new developments, our population would be shrinking and getting older at the same time. So we have systemic concerns on our trajectory, our trend. You're a finance guy, trend lines, right? There's certain things that are sustainable and certain things that aren't. And so we're looking at it and we're getting older, and I got other bad news. It's not Concord, but it's community as a whole in Lake County. Not only are we getting older, we're getting poorer. And those are bad trends. And so we're looking at it and we're going, what do we need to do in our little part? I can't control the county, can't control Cleveland does, but what are we going to do to make sure Concord is a place that people want to come, millennials want to be here, they want to live here, and even more importantly, our folks that live here now are boomers. I'm 44, Paul's 44. We're not far away from being that next group that wants to downsize.
I'd remind you too of the kids that are, it's
our school district losing kids.
Heartbreaking. Well, I'm talking about the younger, or a little bit older ones, the ones that graduated college. They decide to live in Willoughby or downtown Cleveland in lieu of living here because there's not a market for them.
So
And
what?
not that we have to be that market for them, but
No, well,
it's a problem for Lake County as a whole.
So what we struggle with all the time is, what's that sustainability? How do we keep our people that want to stay here, and how do we get new people, millennials, to want to be in Concord and to thrive here and to bring their businesses here and to, and to have that, so that Concord remains a destination that people want to live at and contribute. And so that's all going into this mix of what we're trying to do. And some of that, I don't know yet, may include some limited housing components within a commercial district. Because there are some people that do want to live there. I've talked to people about this in this community, and I've had people say to me, can we get this done tomorrow? Because I want to sell my house. So you're right about this. You're right about one thing, Bob, and that is that there needs to be beyond us putting our nose to the grindstone and sitting here and working away, we need to have this discussion, because there are varying opinions out there, and there are residents that want different things, whether they want a Starbucks or they want to, I talked to a guy who goes, I hate that damn Starbucks, I talked to 10 other people and they love the thing. So there's always, the vast majority of people love the Starbucks, but it's, I guess I come back to, again, the fact that you and I think, are looking at the same end result. Maybe our idea of what that ends up looking like exactly at the end is a little different, or maybe the path there, but we're both looking at the same thing, which is, how do I keep my costs down? So here's the thing. We get a good commercial district going in that corridor. We bring in businesses. They're in the JED. They're feeding revenue. They're doing what you're talking about here. And I'd like to talk to you more about this concept as we finish up the road project and paying that off, and we have these dollars and we're investing them, ways that we can do things like that.
When do you think you'll be done paying that road off? You'll 2 million?
I think 3 years.
I think 3 years. It'll be a little shorter than what we initially projected. So that's a thing that's in good shape. I tell you, it's ironic to me that Dan Troy would talk about tax increases for a guy that in 30 years didn't ever not endorse a tax increase or approve them as a commissioner or as a state rep, but that's neither here nor there.
He was quoted.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to chuckle at the irony of that. But anyway, I think there's I guess what I'm saying is, I think there's a lot of commonality. And I think that, one, we are committed to increasing that communication so that no one feels like they don't know what's going on, because I know that when we do give these presentations to groups, homeowners associations, the response that I've gotten in the last few years from people has been overwhelmingly positive.
You got a lot of criticism because you didn't put it in the grapevine. The grapevine came out a week or two before, and that might have been able to...
And the only thing I could think of, and I guess...
But here's the thing, we never put zoning commission hearing stuff in the grapevine. We never have. We've never used the grapevine as hey, the zoning commission is having a hearing on this text amendment or that text amendment, or,
This is a little bit different than the zoning change. This is a Concord change.
Yeah, but I don't know if I've
I
ever...
don't think it's as extensive as you think it is. That's my point.
I don't think I've ever...
You're talking
not
about an
talked about it.
overlay district in a commercial corridor in a limited footprint. It's not a township-wide thing. There is nobody watching on TV right now.
But it'll affect the entire township. If you get a lot of people over there in that area, it's going to change the facade of Concord. People don't think in economic terms. I'm a financial analyst. Yeah, I do. The people think, oh, it's not in my backyard. I heard that forever.
Except, I would agree
Except
with
that's
that.
not in anybody's backyard.
It's not in anybody's
Yeah, if we
backyard.
really pay attention to it, wasn't in anybody's backyard, and
Honestly.
and I guess what amazes me is that we've sat around and talked about the road and the road project always correlating to a mixed-use development in that area. It goes hand in hand and has been going hand in hand. We had a long discussion about it in 2006. In fact, today's the 7th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. exactly 11 years ago today. A long discussion about it. A long discussion about it. And I will tell you, somebody who was in support of it was Mrs. Pessin. Specifically, very, similar, and used the example of First and Main and Hudson. And and then from there on, we went to, Lake County Economic Development Strategy Council, and I was involved in that. And we talked about that, for different areas of Lake County and what will be the growth of the future and sustaining economic development in the areas. And that was a huge discussion. So I agree, and I will, but under what medium or continued mediums are we supposed to go ahead and still have those discussions? And I will still have them, but it just seems like I always talk about it. I can't tell you, and it was like this. I would grab people off football fields or the courts and say, well, let me take you over here, let me show you, here's where the roundabout's going to be, because that was always a big question, and here's how we have this, and look at these roads. And then you take, if you look at Capitol Parkway, you haven't seen a more solid road and built in Concord in years, and because it's underused and it's there, but it is. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that in anybody's backyard, and I don't see it as changing Concord, but just adding an extra feature to it.
Well, Paul, just by the reaction I got from the people I talked to, it was one of shock and awe.
But I would also say that I think some of that reaction that you got was frankly misinformed in the sense that they were given a piece of information and taken out of context.
Yeah, but
and
delay
then
the zoning and have that conversation with the people of Concord. Delay the zoning.
well, I mean, obviously the planning commission,
Yeah,
they tabled it.
Yeah.
But we're going to have that conversation. The planning commission is going to have that public hearing.
The impression everyone has is that they were part of the comprehensive plan, and they're the ones that dreamed this up. The people I'm referring to aren't part of this, and that's the problem. So if you bring them into the conversation, you're going to do yourselves a big favor.
Compared to Chris and Paul, I am a woman of few words. First of all,
That's why we love you.
is it?
When she gives when those few words, though, there are times when she can really put us in our place.
Okay, I want to thank you for your apology, first of all. Secondly, I want to say that the email that was sent out riled up everybody because they said that there was a possibility of 7,720 homes on 193 acres. That 193 acres is the portion that we want to do for economic development, not residential. But it riled up everybody because they could picture only residential. And that's why they all came last night.
The thing Heather handed out, that one of the people that was with me accidentally took, showed a whole bunch of residential.
But not that many units. Really?
What she handed out to the zoning
Okay.
commission doesn't agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, have the conversation with the people, give them the right layout. That's the wrong layout. I asked Heather to send me a copy, but I didn't get it yet. She said she was swamped today.
She was,
Yeah. But
believe
She's
me.
praying for a conference.
You can do
We'll make
your-
sure you get it.
You
But-
can do yourselves no wrong by bringing this conversation, by delaying the zoning, and bringing this conversation to the people who are concerned. There's a lot of people concerned now. I'll help you identify them because we're calling me, we're all talking to each other. And take an extra month and talk to these people. You're done.
I will meet with anybody, anytime, and we'll do it here. We'll do it in
Yep.
public.
We have a conversation on a formal, televised basis.
And we'll have I will have, and anybody that wants to sit down with me one-on-one, that wants to go through stuff, I'm happy to walk people through. Always have been. I only have one other request of you. No more blind copy emails. If you're gonna send it out to everybody, it's fine. I have no issue with a resident saying, I wanna communicate.
A lot of people don't want their name on there, that's why. But if if you reply
I-
all, doesn't it go to the blind copy too?
It doesn't,
It does, yeah. It does,
does it?
yeah. Just reply. all.
Never been. Not that I know. of.
I don't-
That's- I don't know.
I have people that tell me all the time that they see emails and they don't see our responses. So I guess what I'm saying is I understand why some people don't want their email address. I get it. You know, I understand I get that component. But the problem is that if we're going to have a communication via email, I need to be able to know that things that we're saying, responding, and all the rest of it are getting to everybody.
I can give you the list, and when you have your conversation, you can email.
If you want to give me the list, I'm happy to BCC it, as long as I know we're talking about the same people, and people want to keep their emails confidential. I'll respect that. I just don't, I'm never comfortable with, you know, the idea of, it's like a one-sided conversation, that's all. So if you want to give me the list and say, Gal, we keep this confidential, I will confidentially BCC it myself. But as long as I know it's not like a one-way thing, that's all.
Most of the time, I mean, almost 100% of the time, I send your message to the blind copy if they didn't get it. So everybody should be on the same page.
I don't know if this is important, except for the fact that, I guess what I'm taken off guard by is that we have tweaked the zoning in this area. It seems to me almost every year for the last 11 or 12 years. Is that correct, Kathy?
Maybe not every year, but
I mean, it seems like
It's got to be at least a half dozen
yeah,
times.
and we have restricted it initially and controlled it as much as we can, and then as we became more privy and more knowledgeable about what that area would look like and what should be like, we've opened it up for more uses. You know, again, the thought of having an overlay district was for control and control of what goes in there and control of some architectural review that we did not, you know, we don't have under, you know, township law, except that, you know, this allows us to have that type of tool. That's the purpose of it. That's the theory, that's the logic of doing that. And always to make sure that it's sustainable. You know, we gotta make sure that we continue to sustain Concord Township with that feature. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
And I mean that sincerely. Thank you for coming. I enjoyed this dialogue, and I think it's helpful to us.
It's always good when people talk and get their differences out.
There's nothing, and I argue with Paul sometimes. I tell you all the time, my favorite topic is Concord Township. So I'm willing to talk about Concord Township till I'm blue in the face.
I'm just trying to let you guys know that there's a firestorm out there and that people don't understand what you just told me tonight. And I would recommend highly that you have this conversation with them before you do anything else. You will love the outcome. You can convince them.
I believe we can, because I think we've put a lot of thought into that process.
What you articulated tonight is different than my takeaway on that handout that Heather had. I looked at it briefly. Did not look good.
And I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I mean, my guess is it's probably something that was designed for the board to look at. I don't know. My guess is whatever it is, it's out of context, and so that.
It was a color plan. It had water parks. It had the community center moving. And even one guy today called and said, "What the hell we want to move the community center for? It's fine over there." I don't know. That's your sale, not mine.
So here's what I will tell you. Again, okay, so I think I know what you were.
You know, he said the community center wouldn't fit in that type of commercial development. He thought it would detract from the storefronts and everything. That was his point.
So, two things. One, I think I know kind of what, I don't know the document, but I'll find out. And my guess is I think I know what you guys were looking at.
Yeah,
Purely conceptual.
right.
Okay, let's
Right.
see.
Purely
That's it.
a conceptual,
Yes.
a visualization of what could be or could not be.
Right.
Nothing that's in either under contract, decided to do, committed to, or otherwise.
You might want to revisit that.
A purely conceptual concept. But here's the other thing I will tell you. I don't know who it was, but they're wrong about placement. And we have a lot of analytics to back up why that's incorrect. Now, I will tell you, as part of it, always analyzing all this stuff is, okay, if we were going to develop some sort of a community center, a new community center, and let me just also say, because I know this got around too, this idea of that we're going to build a new town hall. We're not building a new town hall. Town hall's staying here. It's not going anywhere. We're not building an administrative building, nothing of the sort. The idea of whether or not you build a new community center within a mixed-use development is one that would at least be considered if it's something that worked. It would have to work from a standpoint of affordability. I can point to you a lot of examples of communities a la Middleburg Heights that built these massive Taj Mahals that are just, they're just massive cash suckers.
It has to be a collaboration.
And I can tell you, we would never do that. But we do look at this in terms of the overall picture. So we look at a lot of things. We look at a lot of conceptual things and go, does this work? No. Does this work? No. Does this work? Maybe. Maybe this kind of idea. We're willing to listen and entertain and, okay. So the idea of a community center, and as Connie will tell you, community center was purchased what year?
Oh, I can't remember what year, but it was
1980.
temporary. Yeah.
I mean, it was bought, and you know.
It was bought.
It was bought from the Boy
It
Scouts.
was the Boy
and
Scout building.
It was a temporary
It was-
facility.
right.
For a temporary, you know.
Well, a lot of people go there a lot.
They do, and
Yeah.
it's a nice facility. I would tell you, we have some constraints with it. We do have some maintenance issues with it. I mean, it's not like it's not Shangri-La. What we don't want to do is just build some place to build a place. It's if you're going to build something like that in a commercial setting, a new one, it's got to be right sized. It's got to be partnered with another entity that can spread those costs out, and it may be multiple entities. And we've looked at some case studies. You know, there's some case studies like in Wadsworth, where they developed one with the University of Akron, Summa Health, the school district, and the city.
That's a good idea.
Like 5 entities had
Right.
one. And the great thing was for like the city of Wadsworth, they didn't have to staff it. In their case, the 6th entity was their YMCA. The YMCA staffed it. The school uses it for certain things. The senior centers were in there too.
They had a dentist in there, they had a doctor in there.
I mean, they had, it was
imaging
like
in
they
there.
built a community center that was like 7, 8 entities had a level of ownership of this thing, so nobody was drowning, and it had multiple uses and overlap and everything. It was a very creative way to do that. So, I mean, we've looked at things and we said, okay, you know, we would look at that and entertain that, because that's a quality of life thing on our residents that wouldn't require us to have a big overlay of cash. The last thing we want is, we don't want any more staff. We don't want to have pool boys and lifeguards on our payroll and, you know, yoga instructors, you know, some crazy, no, we don't want any of that stuff. But if we could help facilitate the creation of something that would work and then house some of those things that other entities can use, that the community can use, maybe there's something for us to look at. And so we've always taken the approach of, we'll look at it, we'll entertain it. Why not investigate it? Maybe it doesn't work and it doesn't happen. I don't know. But we're always going to look at those things and try to be creative. So I think what you saw was this conceptual idea,
With a lot of ideas put into one.
Right.
and
That's what it looked like.
and so it's
Yeah.
so it gives this idea like, well, they want to build a, you know, no, we didn't, you know.
Absolutely scared the hell out of everyone that looked at it. And then the meeting was tabled, the thing was tabled, so no, I don't even have a copy of it. Denise was the only one that had a copy, and she gave it to Vanessa, and then I asked Heather to give me a copy of it. So I only saw the first page, and the first page scared me. I thought, my God, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think you were looking at concepts, and
Right.
so that,
But if it's a concept, that means it's possible. If it's possible, that means that we could be right in our interpretation.
could be. I mean, I don't, you know, again, a lot of that from my standpoint is I want to know, you know, on anything, whether it's a business coming in, a mixed-use development, a community center, what's the sustainability, what's our cost, what's our long-term projections. I mean, I want to go through an entire process on, I don't care what it is that we do.
You don't really want a water park.
No, there's no
No.
water park.
That's not on there.
I don't know what it was, but somebody said it was a water
No.
park.
Not having a water park.
It said water park.
There's-
Oh, dear.
No one's looking at a water
Nope.
park. But
Well, if you have the conversation. I
But we
suggest-
will. I mean, we will have this conversation. We will have public hearings, and we will.
And
I
if-
will. I am taking what you're saying to us, and I'm saying in my mind right now. Okay, we've been working on these things for 10 years, and we've done a lot of public discussion on them. Let's find a way to open up the whole thing for some additional discovery by the public, so that everybody. I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, I don't know anything about it." When
Not everybody's as close as you guys are to what you labor of love. You know, all the rest of Concord is just living their life. You know, half of them, need I say, aren't tuned in.
you'd be surprised.
So if you want anybody to listen to the conversation that we've had here tonight, tell them to go on our website, concordtwp.com,
We'll do
and
the comprehensive plan.
and they can, yep, absolutely.
But I appreciated this dialogue, and I appreciated your coming here and being forthright about everything.
Yeah, you
And
really want the one-on-one with the there's a core group of people, you know, I think you know who I'm talking about. I think we want the one-on-one with them and the people in their circle of confidence.
right.
And just
But here's my request to that group, and you talk to that group, and that is this. Don't assume because you get some piece of something, and that it is necessarily what you maybe knee-jerk think it is, and then they run out and they announce it as such when it, come to us. I mean, the first email should have been to us saying, what is this? Can we talk? And our response would have been, yeah. But instead, you know, the aforementioned group, it runs out and it spreads it out, and then it's like, oh, they're doing all these things, and I'm getting all these crazy emails about like, you want to build law? You know, like, no, wait, what? You know. So from that standpoint, yes, it blindsides us. But all I would ask people is call us, email us, and say, hey, what's going on? Don't assume that there's some, you know, sinister intent out there.
Well,
It's
I
just.
emailed you, but I apologize for I emailed you for.
No, and that's fine. And that's my message to everybody is if you got a question on something, anything, and I'll tell you the same thing I tell my the Bernadette who cuts my hair, she's Concord resident over at Oscar G. Money, right? So I'm sitting in her chair the other day, Tuesday, after our staff meeting, and you know hairdressers get every rumor in the community, right? They get everything. And I tell her, I said, Bernadette, I said, you gotta ask me when you hear these rumors. I said, you gotta stop them, basically, because I will tell you that 99% of rumors are not true. and she said, well, I hear we're getting a Trader Joe's. I said, she goes, I heard so they have it on a good source. We're getting a Trader Joe's. And I said, I'm here to tell you, we're not getting a Trader Joe's. And so, and I said, because I would know. And so I use the same example as if anybody hears something or they want a question, please just call us or email us. We will walk through anything that's going on in this community, or if you even hear a rumor about a Trader Joe's, whatever it may be, you know,
Well, you owe me
reach out to
an
us.
email.
The what?
You owe me an email.
On
Ohio Revised Code, JED requirements. I challenged you guys saying that you can spend money anywhere you want, page 21 of your agreement with Painesville. You said the Ohio Revised Code, Paul said the Ohio Revised Code wouldn't let it. Yeah, you walked in that meeting and said the same thing. So I can't find it in the Ohio Revised Code, so if you can send that to me, that's the email you want.
I owe you an email, then I will. I don't know. I thought Paul was.
It's
All right, let me-
72.
I kind of let it slip. It was
0.72.
last
All
week.
right, let me look. ORC on JED revenue
Yeah.
and expenditures.
Well, the argument I have is Painesville's 5 miles away, they're getting 25% of the JED revenue, and it's not being spent in Concord. They're spending it in Painesville in a
Correct.
non-JED jurisdiction.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to the fact that they're a city, we're a township.
Yep.
And those limits, and I always say, it's a shield and a sword. You know, it's nice to be a township because There's times that you're able to slice through certain things that you couldn't do if you were a city, and there's also times you can put up your shield and protect yourself because you're a township.
I will get you stuff,
But yeah.
and I will tell you that last year there were a number of changes to the JED law. So
Yes.
I will dig through that, and then I will,
Jerry Serino knows me, the lawyer that wrote the Ohio Revised Code for the JED. He knows him personally. He was gonna try to give me information, but he's now too busy with commission work.
yeah, and in the legislature last year overhauled the JED law.
Yeah.
Some good, a lot bad. So I would want to look at those changes as it relates to expenditures, but I'll get you all that.
And as a resident who's not in the JED, you get all that work, all that effort to get the JED going, and we can't spend the money in Concord?
No, yeah. we
Oh,
can.
yeah. Yes, we
No,
can.
I mean, you gotta spend it in the JED, that was the argument I was having.
No.
You have to have a nexus, a nexus to the jet. It's got to have a nexus to the jet. And I will tell you this, when we put the jet together, there was a lot of discussion about that nexus, and Mr. Lucas's office and Wiles and Richards will disagree with me, but I think as you go over time, you can articulate a better nexus to the JED farther and farther away from the JED. An example is, right now it's directly related, it's new, we're putting the road in. My next guess is that it will help facilitate development or continued development in that area and those dollars and cents. As time goes on, and let's say hypothetically that because that traffic pattern becomes a little bit more congested, and because it becomes a little bit more congested, traffic starts heading down the road towards your place, and now you're getting more potholes. You could probably justify that has a nexus to that JED, and you can justify now repaving that road, every 5 years or whatever it may be. And again, I think that's the analysis that's done on that. That's my interpretation of what that law is. I will tell you that's not conservative. That's a progressive view of that, of how you go ahead and expand that, and how you use it to your township's advantage. But that's my logic, my theory on it.
I'll give you 2 instances, and this is where the frustrating thing about the ORC on JEDs comes. Paul thinks that his position is a progressive one on JED revenue. I think it's too conservative. My opinion is you can spend JED revenue wherever you want. You put it in your JED fund. You transfer it into your general fund. We should be free to do whatever we want with it.
Basically what Troy said, they're not monitoring.
Yeah, well, we have an audit, obviously the township, and then the JED itself has an audit as well, where that's reviewed. I think there's some truth to what Paul says about that nexus, and I think some of that came out with the law changes. Because what happened was, why there were law changes, there was a township in south central Ohio, south of Columbus, that went and did a JED, and they took basically they took a gas station and a convenience store, and then they JED'ed in a prison. And so they captured all the payroll revenue of everyone that worked at the prison. And what that did was that created a firestorm with that union, because now these folks who all live in townships in rural southern central Ohio were now suddenly paying I'm guessing it was a 2% income tax to the township. And to be frank, the opinion became from the legislatures that the township was abusing the code. They weren't using it for true economic development. They were using it as a true cash grab by just jetting in a prison. Well, what's the economic development of a prison? And there's some, I always defend townships on this, and I defend townships by saying this. That prison doesn't pay taxes. The traffic in and out of that prison beats up those township roads. That township has to respond to that prison with fire, EMS constantly. They are incurring tons of costs and getting zero revenue from a massive institution in the middle of their in the middle of their township. It's costing their taxpayers
Were they allowed to
money.
keep the money?
They rewrote the law.
So they rewrote the law to try to disabuse future townships from doing those kind of things. And so part of that was trying to drive in more of a nexus of like, okay, you're going to create a shed, you better have an actual economic development purpose that you're trying to do. And, you know, that frankly, that's basically what our model was. You know, the Township Association tried to use like what we've done as an example of like, well, there's lots of townships doing good things. But, so that's, some of the changes came about in that because of that, and they restricted a lot of things that can be done with
Painesville
sheds.
Township's, I would say, challenging some of that rhetoric
Yeah.
that was there. So it would be interesting, I mean, we're gonna have something local here soon, at least
Maybe.
determined, maybe.
Maybe, yes.
And that's the other thing I would tell you is Mike Lucas will tell you, there's zero case law on jets. There's none. I mean, they've been out there a long time. There's a lot of communities that have them, different cities and townships and villages.
But,
Nah, early 90s.
But that one township that
First one
Chris,
maybe was around Akron, and yeah, it was a lot. So
so
it's,
the one township that Chris mentions, the abuse that at least somebody saw in is the legislature just went ahead and changed it. So there wasn't a lawsuit or any law that developed on it, it just became all legislative, which I guess is more concerning to me than anything.
well, and we fought a lot of the changes as a township association because it was in broad stroke in the legislature.
Well, when you pay the road off in less than 3 years, you can see what their reaction is when you start putting it in a sinking fund, not spending it and letting it go to
They won't object to that, and I will tell you, they wouldn't object if we used it to buy an ambulance, because those are legitimate expenditures of a community, and because an ambulance will respond to a commercial district. So there's lots of things that we can spend money on that and why we want to continue to grow that shed and grow that revenue is so that we can absorb some of those costs and not have to go out and say, hey, we need we need a third fire levy. We don't want that.
Just don't go anywhere near Druid Road.
What's the that's you say that now, but if you needed that ambulance, you wouldn't say that.
You're not gonna believe this. I had a developer knock on my door this morning.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I believe it. It's and I will tell you, I believe it because I know some through the years, some of the crazy projects that we've rejected in that corridor. People have come to us with all kinds of wild things that I can tell you if I told you, you'd go, what? And it's just we first look at it as like putting the door up and finding a way to control it. So at the end of the day, whatever develops there, it's high quality. It benefits the community. It allows us to be sustainable. It's tax revenue positive, and that back to your Madison study, 2001, and so that it doesn't put us further behind. That we see so many communities in that hole now, and those handcuffs of being a township. I mean, we have to deal with. We're a township of pushing 20,000 residents, the largest township in Northeast Ohio. And we have to deal with a lot of city problems. Lieutenant Reed was up here giving the crime report today. I talk to people and they go, nothing happens in Concord. I go, listen to the crime report sometime. And we've got 20,000 residents, and we have to deal with a lot of problems that go on. And we have to figure out a way to do it as a township without any municipal authority the way cities do. And we're always trying to be creative, and some of that, it's JEDs, it's economic development, it's TIFing. You're always trying to be creative. Senate Bill 235 just came out. That's a whole. Have you seen that? That's a whole other tool for us to be able to try to do some stuff. But you're right about dialogue. We're gonna have this dialogue, and we'll continue.
Yourselves in immense favor by having that. Immense, and I don't think it'll be anything. I think it'll be just like this. A lot of questions.
And I appreciate that. What frustrates me, and I know frustrates Paul and Connie, is when we get antagonism. When someone just assumes like, well, you're doing something wrong, or you come at us and like, just ask us a question. We'll have an entire dialogue and an entire explanation. And people may say I disagree with you, and there will be disagreements at times. And
When would you do that? You have an idea of when you would do that?
the next time we're going to do that is on June 21st, right here in this trustees meeting.
The second meeting of the...
We're going to be right here. We'll talk about it. If people want to come here and talk about it, we will be here to talk about it. When the planning commission resumes, they will have a public hearing at some point.
mean the zoning-
We will talk
Zoning.
about it.
Zoning commission.
The zoning
Zoning.
commission, sorry. They will talk about it. It'll come, anything that comes before us, we will have a public hearing, we will talk about it. We will talk about it every meeting. And
This
I,
would be before the zoning, next zoning.
we'll be,
Right,
we'll be,
it will
we're
be.
happy to talk about it.
The
We
next
wanna
zoning
talk about it.
meeting
We
is
want
on
people
the
to come
11th
here,
of
have
July.
questions, and
That's
we will
fine.
dive. We will
That
go
would
into
be
it.
well received by everybody.
And we are happy to deep dive. As you can tell, we kind of like it. And for that, I have to apologize to Mr. Call because he's been waiting over there patiently because I think he might want to have audience
Yeah.
comment.
Okay,
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
bye.
Thanks, Bob.
Good night.
Mr. Call, I apologize.
That's all right. You need better seats, though.
Actually,
That's
I
done by
gotta
design.
I gotta tell you, the problem I have is that I'm an Irishman and I like to talk.
That's all right.
And so, and when I start talking about Concord, I'm not gonna stop, so.
That's great. It was interesting, actually, most of this stuff. I thought it was good. And I was surprised you knew as much as you did.
I'm not as stupid as I
That came
That's the
out.
best
What are you
kind.
trying to say? What are you trying to say?
No, I didn't mean that that way.
It's okay if you do.
Good
I
one.
get that a lot.
Good one.
Well, my name's Ron Call. I live at 12355 Blue Road, Concord Township. And they've answered a lot of my questions here. I was going to comment about that Bollock Stuff interchange up there, 44 and Auburn Road. And it's a mess. Every time I go through there, there's cars, they're supposed to go down Crowell Road, they're going down Auburn Road. And you got to watch, you're on the right side, you can't see them, at the back of your car. And they go sneaking by you on the right side, and that road ends. And I think they need more arrows there. The other thing is, you need a speaker system in here, because I couldn't hear the fire chief, I couldn't hear this guy, the road department, and the recreation department.
You can up that.
Yeah. Maybe you could turn the lectern this way or something.
Right.
So you could hear it back here. There's not a big audience, but. And the other thing is, they had the deputy here. He reported regarding the breaking and enterings, which I really thought was important because people should know what's going on in their neighborhood. And that was important. And I don't know if they're going to keep doing it, or is that a one-time deal or what?
What's that?
It should be this way. Are they going to do away with the, you made a report tonight regarding breaking and enterings particularly, and a lot of them were on Concord Hamden Road, which is in the area where I live. And I think that's important to know. I had a lot of trouble breaking and enterings where I live. They got into an outbuilding. And I think if I'd been aware that was going on in that area, it would have been helpful to me. Well, you're starting to do that now. I don't know if you're going to keep that
Yeah,
up.
I don't know about a lot of it. I mean, really, Concord is probably living in the best township of all of them. I mean, exactly. And it's a lot of the break-ins that we have is kids walking around at nighttime that don't have anything better to do and are unsupervised, and not even particularly that badly in Concord, but in Hankler Township, Perry, we're seeing it more. But they're just going door to door on cars. The cars are not locked. They're getting in there and getting whatever's accessible to them. I mean, it's a matter of people not leaving significant items of value in their cars and taking a minute to lock them. It's a matter of them closing their garage doors at night so that people aren't walking by and seeing a illuminated garage and seeing some items that they can easily walk off with. But you're not having a lot of problems in your areas, and if you are, they're not being reported.
Well, you just reported 2 breaking and enterings on Concord Hamden Road tonight.
Yes.
Well, I thought
I
that
was
was
just saying, you say a lot of them. I mean, there's not a lot of problems, and our thefts are actually pretty well spread out. And some of them that are close that are a matter of some kids walking in a neighborhood such as the ones in the area of Coleridge and Marlow Rolling Acres. That's like a one-night deal that they have a group that are going car to car, and people are reporting that. And I say a theft in here, that could be a handful of change, or that could be a laptop out of the car. I mean, that's not specific specifics on that. That's, and a lot of times, it's a handful of change or a pack of cigarettes out of the car, and that person the next morning is reporting it. They lock their car, they're not breaking the windows, they're not breaking down doors, they're not, we're not having big burglary problems, we're not.
It's
having
crimes of opportunity.
Houses getting robbed, you know, I mean, it's Concord's pretty, not a lot of problems. We're on it. You guys have 2 people in Concord almost all the time now.
But Ron, that's a monthly report. They come every month, the first month, a meeting of the month, and give a report like that.
Well, the first time I came here, he just rattled off a bunch of statistics,
Oh,
which
okay.
didn't mean anything.
I see. Oh, you want to know where?
He gave all the
Okay.
information.
Right, I got it.
That's what I was talking
Okay.
about. The other thing I was going to bring up, in a sad situation, I like the bicycle, and I couldn't hear what he was saying about bicycling because he faces this way. But I was riding down 44 over by the Hosford Road, and I was going up that bicycle trail over there, and there was an accident up there, and I think some people were killed.
Yes,
And that was sad.
yes.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you were talking about here, where I live, and you live over in that area too, there's a lot of acreage. It's wide open. Was there about 700 or 800 acres over in there? With that conservatory and what Caldwell owns and what you own. If you go down east of me, up 608, that's all wide open down through there. What are you talking about with this zoning?
The zoning that we were talking about today was over by
Well, that's what I thought.
the roundabout.
Yeah,
By the roundabout.
you're not talking about changing the zoning over
No, I'm
there.
talking
No,
about
no.
Capitol Parkway.
Okay.
You know, right there on Capitol Parkway, right back there, you know, between the hospital and Auburn Career Center.
And you make a great inquiry, which is, and to make this clear for everybody at home, the zoning modifications that were to be discussed last night that Mr. Patterson was discussing are in a small footprint in the Auburn 44 corridor commercial district. It is not in anybody's neighborhood, not in any,
Right.
not whether you're in your neighborhood or you're off of Pinecrest or you're off of
Right.
Morley or Hoos. It's none of those areas at all. It's only in a small footprint in our commercial corridor.
Most people don't even know it exists.
Most people don't know that corridor exists, which is why we're trying to change that.
Right.
Okay. Well, the last thing is, where are you going to put your swimming pool in?
Yeah, no swimming pool. So if you want to build one and donate it and put it in an annual fund to the township, I know of a lot of residents that would love for you to do that. No? Okay.
Okay.
I will accept a motion to approve the May financial reports.
Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed those and I will make that motion.
I will second them.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
About a vote for the settlement agreement and mutual release between Accurate Landscaping and Concord Township, which I was intimately involved in resolving, so I would look for a motion to adopt that agreement.
I will approve that and thank you for your efforts on our behalf in trying to come to a conclusion.
I will second that with discussion.
Sure.
I want to know how it's going to be enforced.
Well, Michael and I had placed
Before
it.
any discussion happens on this, I just want to know, this is still pending litigation. It's not been dismissed.
Oh.
This hasn't been executed, so any questions, I would
Okay.
entertain that you, I would ask you directly outside of the public meeting.
All right, I will,
You would want that in an executive session
I
or
would want that.
one-on-one with trustee Luda?
so,
Are your questions for Paul or about the terms of the agreement?
no, because I couldn't find the answer to it when I read it. So I will ask you afterwards, but,
Ignoring legal counsel.
okay.
Which you do it.
I
will tell you that there's enforcement through the Lake County Common Police Court and Judge Lucci
okay,
specifically.
all right. All right, then I seconded it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Reluctantly.
Reasons why we don't have Mike here.
I trust Judge Lucci used to be a cop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And he lives in
And he
Concord.
lives in Concord.
Okay, there you go.
I can tell you, he heard about our project there.
Just, you want
Our
more
mixed
than
use.
one copy?
What'd
I
he
only
say?
have one copy.
Loved it.
so-
He loved it? Well, there's an endorsement.
I will-
She's asking for another copy.
I gave one to Kathy.
That's it.
That's the only one?
Yeah.
I have another one, honey, I can forward it to you.
Connie, I have one in my mailbox, I think.
You-
I
I
have
mean, you
one,
have
but-
a copy of it, did you? Oh, so she's asking if they need to sign 2 copies.
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It can be signed in counterpart, so it's fine.
Accept the
Alright.
motion for Service Department's approval of Clayton Ansel to permanent status as he completes probation, increasing from $19 an hour to $19.50 per hour.
So moved.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Service Department, vote on the approval of new seasonal employee Matt Shutt upon completion of the new hire paperwork until September 1st, 2017 at $10 per hour.
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is that Russ's son?
Yes.
Wow. So you are a public
Most of my
relations.
seasonal employees come out of that neighborhood.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve PO 46-2017 in the amount of $2,000 to Contract Consultants, Inc. for the 2007 paving program. This is part of the inspection portion of the road program.
Very necessary. Can you second that?
Yes, I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I would make a motion that we approve new seasonal part-time employee Starlin Bruno upon completion of new hire paperwork up to 24 hours per week at $9 per hour for the recreation department.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we voted on items at staff meeting, the approval of disposal of obsolete, no longer needed equipment at the recreation department, which is a fax machine and a broken DVD player. We had 3 ayes. We approved the cemetery section's pay effective June 1st, 2017 to $7.50 per month, 3 ayes. Future meetings announcement, June 11th from 12 to 3 p.m. Concord Township Fire Department's annual safety day at Auburn Career Center. That's again Sunday. Wednesday, June 14th at 7 p.m. is the BZA zoning meeting. June 21st at 6:30 is the trustees' office hours and 7:30 p.m. trustees meeting. And again, as we invited everyone before, if someone wants to talk to us about the zoning in the Auburn Career Corridor, which is a mixed-use overlay. And again, the overlay is the new use anyways, because the mixed use is always, is what has been proposed for some time and zoned in there. It's the overlay that it makes it a little bit special. We'll be more than happy to discuss same. Okay, anything else?
I've got nothing, thank you.
Thank you. All right, close the meeting.